I recently had the opportunity of spending time with the good folks at BP Pulse as they showed me around 3 very different charging hubs they've recently opened in the Midlands. So join me today as we visit the NEC, Tame and Birchley Island and talk accessibility, pricing, strategy and why BP Pulse is betting on hubs. Welcome to the EV Musings podcast video channel. The 3 sites I visited were Birchley Island, Tame near Tamworth, and the flagship hub at the NEC, where I met my guide for the day, Dan McLaren. I started by asking him about BP Pulse's approach to roaming. Under the Public Charge Point Regulations 2023, all charge point operators must have a roaming partner. So where are BP Pulse with that?
So at the moment we do roam in some capacities, as we say, mainly fleet. Business is where we're at. We're not ruling anything out in the future. We're just continuing to roll out our network for the time being, and then we're going to make some decisions around roaming when we feel it's the right time. Do we partner with everyone? How does that work? But at the minute we're really comfortable with the roaming we're doing. For example, like BP has a fuel and charge card we're involved with, and I know even with some EV providers, BMW, Mercedes, Kia, on their EV cards they get there. So we're not really happy with that, but we're absolutely open to doing more in the future as we grow.
BP as a company has a tradition of the forecourt layout where you have, as well as having the fuel pumps, you've also got shops on site, you've got toilets on site, you've got amenities there for people to use. And yet, other than companies like GridServe and the Shell recharge site in Fulham, nobody else has embraced that as a model. Is that something that BP Pulse would consider going forward?
Yeah, there's absolutely a strategy in place for us as we move forward into the future and we move forward towards 2035 and 2050. I can't go into it too much now, but to give you some context, we've got 300 company-owned forecourts out there that have toilets, food, drink, everything we need. We need the power to go with that, so not every site is going to be perfect for it. It has to be ultra-fast charging. But already across our company-owned and dealer-owned estate, we're already on 170 of those forecourts. Now, some fully powered up with Alpatronic chargers, some with our battery integrated charger because we're lacking power. So again, we have to monitor that over a period of time. Things change, power becomes available, power gets taken away, and we need to manage that, but they're absolutely part of our future.
Now, we have to talk about the accessibility of this site now. You've got the bump stops in, you've got the curbs, which not particularly accessible. So the question then has to be, what was the thinking behind not making this site particularly accessible?
Sure. So, not to talk specifics about individual sites, just to give you a bit of an overview about a lot of hubs like this place. Now, this may be a case of like here, we do not own the land, we do not own the car park, and every site can be slightly different. We could be restricted on the number of bays we've got, the number of space we allow for bays. Now, to be clear on accessible bays, we want accessible bays at every single hub. Okay, like this particular one is a long time in the past, and I know we spoke on the podcast, and I said moving forward we want accessible bays at hubs, and we absolutely do. But as I say, this one hasn't, unfortunately. But as I say, it was almost designed 3 years ago on that. But now moving forward, that is our desire. Can't always have it best way, and we have to make a decision as a business. Do we continue with this particular site, or do we not? On this occasion, at the time, a couple of years ago, we decided this was going to be a good location. We've committed to it, and I think it is a really good hub.
So what did we learn on our rather wet day trip to the West Midlands?
Well, a couple of things. Firstly, BP Pulse are pushing a lot of money out to these hubs, so they really want them to be used. Secondly, in places where they have complete control over the location, their ability to put in safe and accessible hardware is much higher than in situations where they don't. Thirdly, I'm expecting news moving forward about roaming agreements between BP Pulse and third parties, hopefully more than one roaming provider, as well as news about the future of charging at BP forecourts across the country. Many thanks to Dan and his team for their time, and Rob Shaw from RS Thinks for being my cameraman.